the lesson. Okay, so today we're going to be going over PowerPoint, and this video should replace one that I did yesterday because it didn't, the screen didn't switch like it was supposed to. So what we're looking at is basically a story that we're going to be telling using mostly pictures and text, right? But very limited text. PowerPoint is a program designed for presentations. It's like a graphical presentation program that kind of would allow us to create the equivalent of a little commercial, really. We have use of pictures so that pictures can actually, tell the 1,000 words that we don't need to write. So that's basically the idea behind it, putting pictures with minimal words, lots of movement so it captures our attention, and kind of like I said, watching a little mini commercial, right? So you're going to be doing a presentation on a zoo animal. This particular one that you're looking at right now, I have it kind of set up not in the visual audience view, but actually just how the person created it. And then I'm going to show you PowerPoint. I'm going to walk over the actual program and then show you how to get started. But this is what a PowerPoint looks like from the end part, and then we'll go to the beginning part. So you have the first slide, which talks about the actual title of the presentation. And we're using text boxes or word art, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then lots of pictures to kind of describe the scene, what's going on in the presentation. Now, hold that thought, because I'm actually going to open a brand new PowerPoint, talk about it, and I'm going to go back and forth between the two as I work. So this is what PowerPoint looks like. And you can either find PowerPoint down at the bottom on your taskbar, or you can always type it in search, type PowerPoint, and then when the app comes up, just click on it to open it up, right? This is what it looks like when it opens up. You have, and this should be kind of familiar because Word gives you this look, so does Excel. You have what's called a blank, that's the first one. So in Word, it was blank document. In Excel, it was blank workbook. And then you have what we call templates, right? In Excel, these templates are basically themes. That means how you can get your presentation to look. It's the design element of your presentation, right? A way to make it look fancier, cleaner, more professional is that you can, click on one of these different types of design elements or themes. I have a little option here that says more themes. So if I click on more themes, look at all these themes that I have. So themes are important in the sense that it allows you to take a very plain, basic white presentation and add lots of color to it, which makes it look a lot more professional, right? In this class, however, you're going to be doing all of your work through the blank presentation. Everything is a blank, right? Everything you do, you'll do from scratch. So click on the blank presentation, and this is what the PowerPoint looks like from the beginning. You have really these two sections here. The design came up because I was clicking on the themes, but I'm going to close out this panel just by clicking the X on this side, because normally this panel does not pop up. This is what it really will look like when you click on yours. You have two things you're looking at. This side here is what we call the sorter. That's where you're going to be loading up all of your slides. And then you have the actual slide that you're working on right here. So this is the work area. This is where all the creative magic happens. And as you're creating it, you'll see it loading over here as well, because these are the same slides. This is slide one. This is slide one. Okay. Now, just so you can see, this is what I mean by slide sorter. So we're back at the Meerkats presentation. Here's slide one, here's slide two, slide three, slide four, slide five, and slide six. And they load here So that way, when you want to click on a different slide, you come here to the sorter, you click on that slide number, and then it loads for you so you can work on it. So this is important because notice when you click on a slide, it takes up the entire window, just that one slide. Well, that's because this is where you have to work that slide out. If you want to switch back and forth between slides, you go to the sorter. That's why they're lined up here. And you could have 100 slides in here and they would all be lined up and down here. You would just scroll up and down to get to them. So now back to the blank presentation. When the presentation comes out, it comes out with two already designed text boxes. These text boxes are not only designed, but they are set up and ready for you to start typing. And it even gives you a large letter. It makes it centered. It's like pre-designed perfection for you. If you click at the bottom, you get your subtitle. So you can do your title and your subtitle, right? That's what the idea is behind opening up PowerPoint to see these text boxes. Well, in my classes, we're not even going to be using these text boxes. So you need to delete them. To delete the text box, you want to touch the frame of the box. You know when you have it because your mouse will turn into 4 arrows. That's when you click and delete. So you will be working on a blank slide even from the beginning. There we go. Now we're where we need to be. Now notice when you're on this slide, there's no flashing cursor. There's no anything actually, just a pointer. So how do you get anything on this slide? Well, all of how you get anything on this slide is found in the insert, or I should say on the insert ribbon. That's where all of everything is, honestly, that you're going to get on this slide. If you want pictures, here's your pictures. If you want words, you're going to either use text box or word art, one or the other. And that's really what PowerPoint is. It's word art, text box, and pictures. You will be using some shapes because they're available to use, and they're kind of important because the shapes can do a lot as far as filling in gaps and adding different dimension to your design. So you will be using some shapes in PowerPoint too. So let's go back and look at the meerkats and kind of look again at how she set up the first slide. So this assignment, which I'll show you in a little bit, this is called a zoo animal. Choose a zoo animal and create a presentation. And this student chose to do, I'm going to go to view just so I can zoom out. I'm a little too in it right now and I can't really see. Oops, I went this side. I can't really see what's going on. I like to see the edges of my slide so I can see how big the slide is. So I usually don't work in unless I'm zooming in, unless I'm working on a specific area and I need to be in that area. I kind of step back and give a whole view of my screen. This is just how I prefer to work. You're going to find, you're going to develop your own method of what makes you comfortable when you're working. I like to see the slide. So this student here, what she did was she found a picture of meerkats. This is her zoo animal, meerkats. She found a picture of meerkats and then she just created the picture to be as large as the slide. And that became the entire background of the slide for her. And then she used text box by student X, and she used word art for meerkats. And that's how she got her text up there. So let me show you how that's done using the blank slide. So again, I'm going to zoom out because I like to see the edges of my slides. It matters when it's time for me to be able to, I'm just going to go 66%. When it's time for me to be able to make sure my picture lands on the entire slide, I have to zoom out to do that. Okay. Now, before I move forward, are there any questions about what I've gone over thus far? Okay, I'm going to keep on going. So now we have the blank slide and we're almost ready to work. There's one small thing that I do want to discuss, even though it's not that small, it kind of is a big deal, but we need to talk about it. And that's the size of this slide. See, I look at the slide as a piece of paper because I can print this, right? I'm in a Microsoft application. I can print what I'm working on. The problem with this right now, the way that this slide is set up, is that it really is long. I mean, look how wide this slide is. If your eye is picking this up, you can see it's kind of longer than or wider than an 8.5 by 11 inch copy paper. And that size copy paper is your basic paper that we buy when we go to the store for printer paper. We always get the copy paper 8.5 by 11. So it's really kind of shocking. For whatever reason, Microsoft decided in this version to go ahead and elongate the paper to the 8.5 by 14. And that's your legal size paper, 8.5 by 14. So you could go to the store and you could purchase legal paper, and most basic printers will run the copy paper 8.5 by 11. We call that letter size. And they'll also run the 8.5 by 14 inch paper, which we call legal size paper. The problem is you probably don't have legal size paper at home. More than likely you have letter. So go to design. That's the design ribbon. And all the way down towards the right, you have what's called the slide size. I often switch this. So you want to go to custom. What we're going to be doing is taking it from the 14 inch legal size down to the 11 inch letter size paper. And that's just the better way to do before you even start working on this, because you want to print it and you can only print it, you know, if you have the paper that matches. So most of us have copy paper. So click on custom slide size, which is right here. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to change the size. Now, right here, it's telling you that the slides are sized for a wide screen. And look at the width. This 13.3333, that's 14 inches. Okay, it just has the marginal area built in, but it's 14 inch paper. So we want to switch that. So click on the drop down arrow and you want to go to the letter paper, which is the 8.5 by 11. See, this is it's on legal right now, but you want to go to letter, which is 8.5 by 11. Click on that. The measurements will change automatically. And then the last decision you can make is whether you want this slide to be in landscape, which means it's wide printed, or portrait, which means it's tall printed from top to bottom. So the difference is completely up to you to decide or determine. Most presentations are landscape because it's set by default, and most people just don't change them. So most of your PowerPoint presentations are landscape. I have had this, assignments I've given to students where they had to switch to portrait. But for a basic presentation, you can keep it on landscape and then say, okay. Now, when you do that, the system is going to say, all right, I'm scaling down from that 14 inch paper to 11. If you have something on this slide already, you'll probably want to ensure that I also scale down your designs so that they can fit. That's basically what this is saying. So I normally would hit ensure fit and move on. And look at the slide. Look at it now. It's cut. You can see how much smaller it is than it was before. But this for me is important because at least now, whatever I create on this entire slide, I know I'll get all of it printed on my copy paper. All right, before I move forward, does anyone have any questions about that? And you can also type your question in chat if you have a question there. And remember, questions are good when we're recording because the answer also gets recorded. Okay, so can someone just confirm that they see the slide is blank? Make sure that the screen is matching what you're looking at.
Yes, it's blank.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I should have asked that yesterday when I was taping this the first time around. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do one slide. Let's go ahead and get started. And I will go back and show the assignment. This is, it's pretty basic as far as what I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then I'll show you the assignment. So we're going to pick a zoo animal. Now, here's what I think, and I'm sharing this information with you like I actually do it in real time. So I have this slide set up as a landscape, so it's wide. So automatically, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, do I want a picture to be the background, and do I want the picture to be as wide as the slide? If that's the case, then I should be looking for a picture that's wide instead of a picture that's tall, right? So let's figure that out. I'm going to go to Insert, Pictures, and then I'm going to go to Online Pictures. Now, when I get to Online Pictures, then I'm going to type in my animal, which is, anyone from yesterday would know, it's the giraffe. My favorite animal is the giraffe. And then here's what I'm looking at or looking for. I'm going to make a determination whether or not, I want the picture to be as wide as my slide, or do I want a picture to be tall? Because maybe I'll only use half the slide for the picture and the other half for words, right? This is where the creative processes start kicking in. You got to kind of ask yourself these questions before you even pick the picture, because it matters. It really does make a difference. So as I'm scrolling through, I like this picture here. It's nice and bright. So if I put words on the background, you can see it. So this might be a pretty good picture to choose. Something like this is kind of dark. Even though it's a bit wide, it's kind of dark, but it's still not as wide as this picture. This is a really good landscape type picture. I know I'm not going to choose portrait because I don't want this to go on the slide. It wouldn't fit over the entire slide. I would have to add something on the side of it, which I could do, but I don't want to, right? This is the creative process. As I'm moving down, I'm looking at more. Okay, I don't want a giraffe that has a white background unless I'm going to get rid of the white background and place him onto the picture, right? Next to another giraffe, which I could do, right? Building my background, so to speak. I can do that by picking a picture that has a clear background. So you're doing this. This is the time-consuming part. PowerPoint itself is not difficult at all. Everything you've already learned, you would just apply to PowerPoint. You've learned how to work with pictures. You've learned how to work with word art, text boxes, all of that. You're just applying it. So you're just looking, and this could take quite some time depending on how serious you are about your PowerPoint and what you need it for. I'm going to go back up because I do want to use that picture that I saw earlier, because I think it's a good picture. I think it'll make a nice, beginning to my presentation. This guy right here. So I'm going to click on that picture and insert. And I'm hoping the picture, yes, did it again. It's nice and wide. Look at this. It literally, literally, it went ahead and took on the measurements of my slide. I'm super happy about that. It fits almost beautifully. Now, there are a couple of issues. One is these pictures are now coming in with this photo information attached to it. So let me zoom in so you can see this. They're all coming in with that now. They didn't used to, but now they are. So no worries. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of that. So we're going to go ahead and let me scroll up. Come on, go up so I can see. Let me move this out the way too. This thing right here. All right, come on. Oops, close that out. There we go. Let's pull that up out the way. So if you click on this part right here, the words, you can see this is a text box. They've attached this licensing situation to all these pictures that you bring in now. If just click on that, then go ahead and click on the frame of the text box and delete it. You don't want that there. You don't need it there. You don't want it there. All right. So go ahead and get rid of that. I'm going to also close this window pane that popped open on my computer design ideas, and we'll talk about that later, I promise, because it really is something worth knowing. But right now, we're just setting up a basic first slide. So now I've got my slide. It is a little short. It's a little short. I could pull it to cover the rest of my slide. If that doesn't distort it, then I'm good. If it doesn't distort the picture, I can use it. But I feel that it distorted it just a little bit. So I'm going to bring it back up. I just don't think it was good enough. I want to bring it back up. So now I have the picture on the slide, but I do have some of the white part of the slide showing. Now I could use that and I could type something down here, but it's very little amount of space. So instead, I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to put a shape down there. I'm going to grab a rectangle, and I'm just going to fill this in with the rectangle, and I'm matching the rectangle to match the actual size of the bottom of the slide, the rest of the slide that's peeking through. Now, I'm going to move this guy out the way again. I'm going to go ahead and change the color. So that's a shape. The shape format ribbon will pop up when you're working with the shape. Make sure you're choosing the shape styles grouping. A lot of people get that confused with the word art grouping, including myself from time to time, because they look so similar. But you want the shape filling, and that's when you can choose your different colors. So I'm going to go with the green for grass, and then there is a blue line. Okay, this is really like in the way. There is a blue line around this shape. So I'm going to go to outline, and I'm going to give it a different color outline. And so that's the bottom of the slide. Now, this slide is just about done. And really, it was done with one picture and one auto shape. See how that goes? Really, really quick. Now I want to add some words. So again, to get the words on here, you have to go to Insert, and then you're choosing between either the text box or the word art. So let's talk about the differences, because it does matter. I'm going to click on the text box. When I do, I get this little upside down cross. Hold down the left mouse, and you can like drag out that text box so that you can type inside of it. So, oh, come on, my system is, yeah, love when that happens. Okay, let me do that again, because that didn't go over well. Insert text box and drag it out. Okay, there we go. There's the cursor. So now I'm going to type giraffe. Notice how small the word giraffe is. I will have to highlight it, and I will have to make it larger. I mean, you've got this whole slide, the whole slide that you need to really keep in mind when you're designing, because you want everything to look big and robust. You want people to read this. You know, most presentations are shown on a screen. So you have people that sit, you know, somewhere behind or in front of the screen, but in the back, and they need to be able to read, right, what you type. So make sure you keep in mind proportion. This is a really big screen. You want to make sure proportions are set up. Now I've got that size 72 font. I can change the color of it, because that's what I can do, right? I can put whatever color I want, purple, red, green, orange, doesn't matter, giraffe. And I can change the actual look of the letters. So I can come and change my font. There we go. So there's my font, giraffe. Not so bad. But let me explain what the actual word art does. So when you click on Insert and you go to word art, you get a word art gallery. The gallery is like a bunch of different looks of word art styles, right? You've got all of these looks. You've got, you know, these different types of styles with lines in it and reflections in it, all this wonderful stuff. I always go with the basic word art, because I know I can go ahead and just, you know, transform it later. So I'm going to click on the first option. Your text here, that's the word art asking you to write something, because that's what's going to be here, whatever you type. So I'm going to type again giraffe. Now, automatically, the word art came out larger already from the beginning. It came out larger. Oh, I keep grabbing my picture. I'm trying to grab my word art. So tricky sometimes. These guys are so tricky. Okay, you move to the side so I can grab my word art. There we go. Oh, I still can't get it. Come on. Right there. There we go. Already look how big it is. I didn't even change the size on this word art yet. And look, it's already bigger, thicker, fuller. And that's exactly what happens here. It gets bigger, thicker, fuller just from the word art itself. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Usually I just put a word or two and design it into word art. And I'll show you why anything more can become a problem. So I can highlight my word art, same as my text, and I can do the same things actually. I can make it larger. I can change the font style. Same. But here's where the difference is, and this is like the major difference. Word art has the ability for you to actually make it artistic. And I'm just going to scooch this over a little bit so I can share with you what that is. So highlight it again. I'm going to go to shape format. And instead of dealing with shapes, I'm going to deal with the word art parts. This is word art. So the word art has two things that, well, one additional thing that regular text doesn't have. I can change the fill color. Yep, I make them both red, absolutely. But word art has an outline color or outline capability that the regular text does not have in a text box. So I can put the line color around the letters. I can make that one color, and then the inside, I can fill it with a different color. Once I do that, I can also go to text outline and make the line a lot thicker if I add some weight to it. And you can see now how a thicker line can really make a difference on the design. Already, you can see that this giraffe, the one that's designed by word art, has a lot more going for it than the basic lettering here in my text box. You see that? Big difference. In addition to that, you can also go in and change the text effects, which means that I can add, and let me move I'm trying to move this so that way when I'm in my choices, you can actually see these choices happen. So let's move that over. So let's go into text effects. Look at the shadow. I can actually add a shadow to the back or round or inside of my words. I can also add a perspective where the shadow is actually falling away from the letters. And all that's done under your shadow option. I can also do a reflection, which is like the words are sitting near a pond of water and actually reflecting itself. And that's another design that can be done under text effects. You can do a glow where you add just a really cool background haze to your letters. You see that? And this is done through glow. You can also add a bevel, and the bevels for me change the look of the words from like basic letters to sometimes it looks like plastic or metal. And that's done by using bevels in your design. This one has little lines that go through it. So, I mean, we can all type the word giraffe and every last one of us make it look completely different. This to me looks like plastic. Look at this. That looks like a plastic giraffe to me. Letters. You see the different options? Very cool. You also have rotation, which allows you to change the different angles of the words. You cannot do this with a text box. You cannot get these different angles on a text box. So this is really something worth knowing, word art. And then of course you have my favorite, which is, back to text effects, the transform, where you can actually make these letters bend. You can make them do all kinds of funny, funky waves, arches. You even have one to transform it into a circle. You see that? So this is also something that cannot be done with regular text, and completely something that you should reconsider when you're designing, because this is something worth knowing. It really is. Word art is awesome. So again, once you insert your word art, insert word art, you can choose any type of pre-designed word art. I just usually go with the basic. And then once I design the word art, I type whatever I'm typing right in there. And then once I type it, that's when I'll highlight it and start making the changes. And again, you know, you can go home and you can deal with the font, the look of the letter, you can deal with the size of the letter, but then go back to shape format so that you can actually deal with all of the text effects that were created just for your word art. That's important. So now, why do I only use 1 or 2 words in word art? So here's the thing about word art. If word art has any type of effect on it, so let's say that we put a little rotation on it because, you know, we just want it to. What happens is that when you start adding more words to it, it becomes very difficult. Well, this one actually I can see, but sometimes it becomes very difficult to read if it has too much text. So if you're doing a lot of text, you should do the text in a text box. Paragraphs, sentences, more than a couple of words, do it in a text box. If it's just a word or two, then you can do it in word art, because then you can actually control, you know, the ability to read it. It can get very, very cluttered if it's too much text inside of a word art. So that's something you'll find over time when you're learning it and working with it. You'll go, okay, that's too much, I can't read it. So you'll know. So that's the differences between the two. You can decide. I'm going to go ahead and with the word art. So I'm going to click on the text box and delete it. I like the way the word art looks. I keep moving my picture because I'm grabbing the wrong one. Look at that. So tricky when you have multiple things laid on top of each other. Oh, goodness gracious. No, I'm still not getting it. Come on. There we go. So tricky sometimes. Okay, so there's my giraffe. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've just done? Okay, so I have a question. If I wanted to write my favorite zoo animal, should I use a text box or should I use a word art?
Will it be the text box?
And why do you say that?
Because it's multiple words.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, very good. And you'll see the difference when you play around with them. You'll see, you know, that won't look right or that won't look right. Like you'll be able to determine that.
Okay.
Now, we're done with that slide. I mean, literally, this is PowerPoint. This is how difficult PowerPoint is. The hardest part of PowerPoint is picking out your pictures. Like, what picture should I use? What colors should I use? That's the hardest part. Trust me. The actual application itself, because you've already learned this stuff, is going to be very simple for you to get through. So now we've got one slide down. How do we get to the next slide? On our home ribbon, we have another option called New Slide. So what you do is you click on the arrow and you choose a new slide. So these slides are all pre-designed. They have what we call placeholders, which is what you saw when I first opened up PowerPoint and you saw those 2 text boxes. Those are placeholders, meaning that they're already set in place for you to just type into. This is great for maybe the 11th hour type situation, but for the class, you always want the blank. So click on blank, and now you are dealing with slide 2. My tip yesterday was, if you know you have a presentation that has multiple slides, you should go ahead and put in the slides. So you're doing something that has 4 slides. I would put in all 4 slides. And here's the reason behind that. A lot of times we do work in order. We are creatures of habit. We work in sequential order. We do 1, then we do 2, then we do 3, then we do 4. But the problem is, when it's time to be creative, you may not have anything for 2. And if you work in sequential order and you are stuck on 2, you'll stay stuck on 2. If you at least put the slides up, you can always click into slide 3 and maybe work that slide, or click into slide 4 and then work that slide. It's sort of like a psychological advantage, because you don't have to stay in sequential order to work this slide. Every time I click on a slide, I'm going to be in that new slide. And let me show you what that looks. I'm going back to the meerkats. So if I decide that I can't think of anything for slide 2, I click on slide 3 and I just start working out that slide. And then I'll come back to 2, maybe, in a couple of days or something, right? So it allows you to have the freedom to like kind of skip over something, work on something else, and then come back to it later. And that's really kind of cool to be able to do that. Now, looking at this presentation, she used mostly in her presentations some basic text boxes and pictures. That's it. What do they eat? She did her text box. She highlighted her foods, and she put a bullet. So if you go home, that's where you find the bullets, and you are required to put bullets in what do they eat. But she had all this extra white space here, and she decided to fill it with actual pictures of the things that they eat. And that was really smart of her, because what it did is it gave my eye some understanding of what these actually were. You mean lizards? What are you talking about? Oh, lizard, like a lizard. Okay. Plants, what type of plant? Oh, these type of plants. Okay. Fruits, what? Oh, watermelon. Okay. Beetles. Like, I can actually see what they eat visually. I can either read it or I can actually see it. And so this was a really good slide for her to do that too. This slide here, where do they live? She actually put like the entrance of his home. He's about to crawl into that home. So these pictures in PowerPoint are worth 1,000 words. And if you really want people to understand what you're saying, you should find a picture that really does kind of make sense, right? A picture that matches what you're trying to say. The next slide, how do they clean themselves? And look, she's showing pictures of them actually cleaning themselves. So I'm getting a visual of them actually cleaning themselves without having to even read what she's saying. I could read it and like, oh yeah, okay, cool. But seeing it is really what's making me understand it. So this is basically the concept of PowerPoint. You put in your ideas, you support them with pictures and very little text. We really want to see more pictures, because pictures are what we're going to be able to figure out what you're trying to say. If you pick the right pictures, it'll make sense. All right, so this is kind of exactly how this is done. Now there's more to it later on, and I'll be adding more to it, but let's just go ahead and show you this slideshow. So we're going to hit the show from the beginning and watch her slideshow. Can everyone see this show moving?
Yes, I
teacher.
can.
Okay, good. I got to make sure I'm taping this stuff and it doesn't do anything. Okay, so she's slowing it down just for us to be able to read what's going on here. And then it should move again. Let me see if I can help it move along. This part is called animation. And this is also what you'll be learning to do. This, I think this is, to me, is the fun part. Making things move. As they go from one slide to the next, that was just called transition. And she did add a little sound to her transition. You can also put sound in here, like we could be listening to an actual soundtrack play while we're reading this and watching it. You can also put video. She could have had video of meerkats playing around that we could have seen too. And that's the end of her presentation. So you can see how it's designed, right? It's all these individual slides that really are set up very simplistic, extremely simplistic. I think you did more in Word and Excel than actually setting this stuff up in PowerPoint. Very simplistic, just pictures and words. And then we go back and learn how to animate them, make them move. And then we go back and we learn how to add music and video. And then we go back and learn how to put it on a timer. And then we're done. That's how that's set up. Are there any questions that you have of me at this point?
So I kind of missed the beginning. So basically what you're saying, teacher, is that we're putting it in, and then the text that she got written out, that's up in a text box, but where do we find that information?
So online.
Oh, just go on. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna find that most of your PowerPoint is information that either you have on hand somewhere in your office, in your room, something that you're working on. Because I mean, it could be a presentation of like your family members, and you just have pictures of your family members and that sort of thing. But
okay.
Mostly when it comes to information like you're not aware of, we're online.
Okay.
I feel, yeah, I get all of my PowerPoint information from online.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll find that you may need to restore down your window, open up, Google and work at the same time, bringing information over, because you got to get your pictures there. Also, when I insert, I don't insert pictures this way. I just don't use this method. I insert pictures through Google. I think Google just has way more pictures than this Bing search engine.
Okay.
So, it's here, so I teach it, but I actually don't use it. I go online to get my pictures. I will just click online and go to Google, and I copy paste pictures in.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how I do it. Yeah, for me, I just use more pictures online than through that Bing.
Different. Yeah.
It's a lot more.
One question, teacher, is there any difference
between the pictures online here? Yeah.
in Google?
So the online pictures, they go through a search engine called Bing. And I just find them to be limited in the pictures, the amount of pictures. If I go to Google, just open up Google and I type in, so let me go to Google and I type in giraffe. And then I go to images. I'm going to get pictures of giraffes like for the next 2 weeks, just a bunch of pictures. And I find more to be here than through that search engine, through Bing. It's, it's just a preference. I just get more here. I feel way more pictures here, way more pictures. It just goes on and on. So that's my thing. You can go through it, pictures and online. You can go through Bing, but it's totally up to you. I mean, if you're probably researching something, you're on Google anyway. So picking the pictures and the words, the text that you need, probably would make sense to just work from Google.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, are there any other questions? I do want to show you where your assignment is, so that way you'll know what you're doing. So let me go in and get to our class, which is here. So I've actually loaded quite a few things yesterday because I thought something just said load them, they were there. So your PowerPoint folder is the red folder now. You're in PowerPoint. And this is the first assignment that calls Zoo Animal. So if you click on that, assignment 1, my favorite zoo animal, click on that. And this is the actual instructions for the assignment. So of course, now you're not duplicating anything I've done. No more of that. Everything now that you create is something that you're creating on your own. So you're to create a presentation on a zoo animal of your choice, 4 slides in total. You're going to add pictures of your animal from the internet. Slide 1, introduce your animal. Slide 2, create a bulleted list of the food your animal eats. Slide 3, tell us where your animal lives. Slide 4, tell us how your animal takes a bath. Now, step 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you should know because you got to save your work immediately. But 6, 7, 8, 9, we're going to work on over the week. We're going to go in and learn these things over the next week, week and a half. So we're going to build onto this one presentation, right? So that way you'll have that information. But these are the 4 slides, and this is what should be on each slide. All right, so that's found in your assignments. You can pull it from there and then just, do that. I do want to point out, though, that I have quite a few videos here. This is the video that I tried to do yesterday. I actually am going to delete it right now because it winds up being totally not usable. And I'm going to load this class video once this class is over, I'll load it. But I do want to bring out that I did load some other videos so that you can have. This one is called Getting Started with PowerPoint. It's a video you could watch. I have one called Creating and Saving Presentation, one called Applying Themes. I have one called PowerPoint Placeholders and Layouts, Managing Your Slides, Applying Transitions, Spell Check in PowerPoint, and Creating Word Art. So you should watch the videos since they're there. If you're very comfortable, then that's fine, but they are there to help guide you, even though I'll be posting the class lecture video up there. Well, I'm going to put that one in the assignment 1 folder. This is where I'm going to put our lecture right in here. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about any of it? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and